How about the time when Austin would drive beer trucks and Zambonis to the ring and raise hell every Monday night?
Man, that beer truck segment before WrestleMania 15, bro. That is forever iconic. Hey, yo, what's happening, people? It's your boy Blaze here. Back to you with another one here for Venomous Reactions. And today we got a video here for Wrestle Mafia. And this is 21 things only OG WWE fans remember. Woo! Now, this is going to be going down memory lane because I remember quite a bit. And this still shot right here, it says a lot because I remember both Velocity and Heat. Yo, Sunday Night Heat was the shiz naive back in the day. You feel me? And Velocity, that was like pretty much the sideshow for, you know, mid card wrestlers and, you know, non WWE talent trying to get their foot in the door, you know, having like their tryout matches, so to speak. And that happened on Saturday nights. So this is going to be intriguing. So without further ado, let's see what Wrestle Mafia is cooking with this one. So let's run it.
From forgotten shows to iconic set pieces, these are 21 things only OG WWE fans will remember, starting with the legendary SmackDown Fist. Before SmackDown became a mediocre mess with a boring LED stage, the show had real personality with that massive fist at the entrance. Every Friday night, superstars would march down the ramp and the fist immediately told you that you were watching the blue brand. Unlike today's soulless show, the fist was a symbol of an era when SmackDown was must-see TV. When they removed...
Damn. You ain't lying though, man. Once you saw that iconic fist, like on the stage setup, like you already know, yo, SmackDown is on. We're in for one hell of a show. Nowadays, it's like, okay, we're watching SmackDown. Okay, what's unique about this? I'm just saying, like back then, SmackDown, it had its own identity with the whole fist in the background, and I was so mad when they got rid of it. Like, dude, that's what made the damn show. But we got what we got now, and you know, we can't do anything about it except complain.
Moved it in 2008, it felt like the end of an era. That fist represented a time when WWE cared about making each brand feel unique with iconic stages and intros, something that's missing from the current product. However, speaking of iconic intros, nothing got you more hyped up than turning on the TV on a Monday night and hearing this.
Woo.
Across the nation was a weekly war cry.
My favorite Raw theme ever.
Were about to get crazy. From the rise of Super Cena to Kane's twisted antics, that intro perfectly captured the attitude and energy of Raw during one of its hottest periods. When WWE changed the theme in 2006, it symbolically marked the end of the peak of the ruthless aggression era. Even after that, Raw had some banger intros like this one.
Papa Roach kicked ass.
Even today, when you hear those opening notes, it instantly transports you back to a time when Raw was absolutely stacked with talent and every episode felt like special. However, back in the day, it wasn't just Raw and SmackDown. WWE had an entire universe of recap shows that only the OGs remember. Heat and Velocity were the undercard shows where up-and-coming stars got their reps in before hitting the main roster. Bottom Line and Afterburn were the recap shows that let you catch up on everything you missed during the week.
I remember Velocity, the Bottom Line
especially, was where cruiserweights put on some bangers while watching Todd Grisham or Josh Matthews on Bottom Line and Afterburn kept you up to date with all the happenings in the world of WWE. However, another forgotten gem of this time period was a championship belt that divided the fans when it was first introduced but later became iconic. When John Cena debuted the spinner belt in 2005, wrestling fans had the biggest meltdown in history. This wasn't the prestigious title that legends like Bret Hart, Hulk Hogan, and Shawn Michaels held. This was a spinning hip-hop championship that looked like it came from a toy store. But whether you loved it or hated it, you couldn't deny that the spinner belt defined an entire era of WWE. Cena...
That it did. Like, honestly, what was made for John Cena at that particular time in his career actually became a defining point and somewhere for a whole lot of superstars that held that belt. Now, granted the fact that people really didn't care for it because, you know, it looked kind of something you get out of KB Toys or Toys R Us or something like that. But you got to understand what worked for John Cena back then. I mean, it fit him. So I really can't complain about it because it was specifically made for Cena, but later on in the years, it was like, okay, y'all gonna change up the design now? I mean, the whole Dr. Thugonomics gimmick is ran its course, so it's time to switch it up. But we got what we got, and like I said, we can't do anything about it.
Held that title for what felt like forever, and the belt became synonymous with his Superman booking. Kids loved it and wanted the replica, while older fans complained it looked ridiculous.
That spinner belt was an absolute disgrace.
When they finally retired it in 2013, it marked the end of the Super Cena era that dominated WWE for nearly a decade. But even the spinner belt looked more beautiful compared to the Universal title or the current WWE title belt we have today under Triple H's reign. Speaking of Triple H, if you watched Raw in the mid-2000s, then you know the pain of sitting through a 20-minute Triple H promo at the start of every show. The game would come out, grab a mic, and proceed to talk about how he's the best thing in wrestling for what felt like an eternity.
Tonight, I am the game.
He'd bury whoever he was feuding with, talk about his accomplishments, mention his sledgehammer,
Lord.
and somehow still have more to say. It became a running...
Man, Triple H reign of terror. Dark times indeed. And he would, he ain't lying though. He would bury any and everybody that came across his path. And we had to sit through the same old monotonous 20-minute promo like he is the diamond in the rough. He is the game. He is that damn good. Like, we get it. Like, shut the hell up. We get the point because you say it every damn week. Oh man, those were crazy times indeed.
Joke, and also foreshadowed how Hunter would suck the soul out of Raw even after he stopped being a full-time wrestler. But while Triple H put everyone to sleep with his boring promos, his rival gave us one of the most entertaining characters in 2003 WWE.
Finally, The Rock.
Most fans remember The Rock as the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, or the Brahma Bull, or the Final Boss. But in 2003, The Rock returned after filming movies and debuted the Hollywood Rock persona that became iconic. Gone was the people's champion who loved the fans, and in his place was an arrogant movie star who thought he was too good for WWE. Rock would come out in designer shirts, mock the crowd, and cut promos that were somehow even more entertaining than his babyface run. His feud with Stone Cold at WrestleMania 19 was legendary, and his Rock concerts where he'd roast the crowd and sing about his opponents were pure gold. But speaking of The Rock and Stone Cold, how about the time when Austin would drive beer trucks and Zambonis to the ring and raise hell every Monday night?
Man, that beer truck segment before WrestleMania 15, bro, that is forever iconic. Because, man, Stone Cold came out there and like, you know what? Let me make an impact. And drove in there with a beer truck. And I was like, you know what? I'm not the only one's going to be having some beer here. Y'all gonna drink with me. And pulled up the host and doused The Rock and the McMahons with beer. Oh, man. Good segment. Good times. And I love it.
Before Raw became a bland mess with meaningless promos and matches, there was a time when Stone Cold would make Vince McMahon's life a living hell every Monday night, and it was truly beautiful. He'd stun Vince, humiliate his henchmen, destroy his car, hold him at gunpoint, make him pee his pants, spray everyone in the ring with beer. All of this while millions of people watched worldwide. Stone Cold was the biggest star in wrestling at that time, and it represents an era when WWE wasn't afraid to take risks and do things that were completely over the top and insane. But moving on from the Attitude Era antics, how about a segment that was a staple of Raw, which most fans have completely forgotten today? Chris Masters had one of the most dominant gimmicks in mid-2000s WWE with his Master Lock Challenge. Every week, Masters would come out flexing his pecs and offer a prize money to anyone who could break out of his submission hold. Week after week, jobbers and lower card guys would try and fail to escape, making Masters look like an unstoppable force. The challenge became must-see TV because you never knew if someone would finally break it. When Bobby Lashley eventually broke the Master Lock, it was treated like a big deal that elevated Lashley's character. It's the kind of character building segment that WWE doesn't do anymore. And instead,
that is beyond the truth, because man, a whole lot of people forgot about the fact that he held the Master Lock Challenge for a good minute until it was eventually broken by Bobby Lashley. Like, it defined both characters, Chris Masters as this dominant person that had this devastating submission hold that people could not get out of. And then when it was broken, it became a defining moment for Lashley because he was the one and only person to do so. So it kind of helped out both, but with Chris Masters sliding down the card, it became easily forgotten. And it sucked, but it worked. It worked for him.
Relies on cheap pops and short-term viral reels. But another key point that separated this era from current WWE is the fact that the brand split was actually treated like a big deal. After WWE bought WCW and ECW, the roster was absolutely stacked with too much talent for one show. So Vince McMahon split the roster between Raw and SmackDown, creating two distinct brands that would compete against each other. The WWE draft became must-see TV, where fans watched anxiously to see which superstars would go where. OG fans will remember the night when John Cena got drafted to Raw for the first time in 2005, and also when Cena got drafted to SmackDown and back to Raw on the same night. Back then, the brand split was actually treated like a big deal. And shows like Survivor Series and Bragging Rights were must-see because you wanted to see your favorite show win. Let me know in the comments.
Yep, you ain't lying there, man. The brand split, it actually mattered because you had SmackDown as its own entity. You had Raw as its own entity. And they would repeatedly clash and see who was better. I mean, in my opinion, some people may say Raw, but I gotta say SmackDown held its own, and people thought SmackDown was going to be the B show. No, it was further from that point because SmackDown held its own. In my view, let me know what your thoughts are about that one.
Comments if you were Team Raw or Team SmackDown. But moving on from the brand split, let's talk about an OG WWE moment that felt absolutely unreal when you first saw it. Most fans today remember the time when Braun Strowman and Big Show broke the ring on Raw, or when Mark Henry and Big Show broke the ring during a pay-per-view. But only real fans remember the insane visual when Brock Lesnar superplexed Big Show off the top rope and broke the ring on an episode of SmackDown while the crowd lost their minds. That moment made Lesnar look like an absolute monster, and also showed why Raw and SmackDown were must-see back in the day. But speaking of
that was a holy shit moment. If there was ever one to present, everyone was left on stuck mode. Once you saw the ring implode, oh man, this is forever an iconic moment that is going to be replayed from years from now. And it's still getting mentioned till this day. And back then, Brock was an absolute beast. Superplexing a 500-pound giant off the top rope. Whew. Enough said.
Of moments and segments that defined an era, how about the WWE Diva Search? During the mid-2000s, WWE would bring in models and celebrities who had zero wrestling experience and make them compete in ridiculous challenges for a contract. We'd have bikini contests, talent shows, and obstacle courses that had nothing to do with actual wrestling. The Diva Search also gave us names like Ashley, Michelle McCool, and Layla, who went on to become mainstays on SmackDown. Who remembers that one time when The Miz hosted a season of the Diva Search, only to get attacked by the Boogeyman? But speaking of SmackDown staples during the 2000s, no female authority figure in WWE history got more nuclear heat than Vicky Guerrero with her catchphrase.
Yeah.
Vicky Guerrero debuted in WWE as Eddie Guerrero's widow, who became a manager and authority figure, and fans absolutely despised her. Every time she grabbed that mic and screeched, the entire arena would boo her out of the building. She managed Edge during his Rated R Superstar run and later became SmackDown General Manager, abusing her power and making fans miserable every single week. But speaking of names that made fans' life miserable, you simply cannot forget Randy Orton's run as the Legend Killer. Most fans today know Randy Orton as the Viper and a respected veteran, but it was Orton's OG Legend Killer gimmick that turned him into a bona fide superstar. In 2000,
when the Legend Killer was born, oh man, nobody was safe. Nobody. I mean, I don't care if you're a legend, a Hall of Famer, or soon to be Hall of Famer. If you was in Randy Orton's crosshairs, oh, it was game over. It was game over.
2003, a young, cocky Orton started targeting WWE legends and Hall of Famers, taking them out one by one to make a name for himself. He RKO'd Shawn Michaels, punted Dusty Rhodes in the head, attacked Sergeant Slaughter, and even set The Undertaker on fire. The pose, the music, the presentation, everything about Orton screamed arrogance, and the Legend Killer gimmick gave him an edge that made him stand out from everybody else on the roster. But while Orton was killing legends, WWE was experimenting with shows like Cyber Sunday, where fans voted on match stipulations in real time. Before the internet became mainstream, before Twitter was filled with toxic WWE stan accounts, there was a time when WWE gave fans the power to vote online for opponents, match types, and special guest referees during an entire show. While many fans hated the concept, personally, Cyber Sunday was one of my favorite shows, and it would have been interesting to see how the pay-per-view would work in today's landscape. But while fans might be divided about Cyber Sunday,
I'm sorry. That would not work in today's world because the IWC is nothing more than 80% of toxic, moronic idiots. And you already know they are gonna have a field day trying to like book their type of match and yada yada yada. Like, if you have to leave that power to the fans today, it will throw the whole WWE universe into chaos. I'm telling you.
here's something that had teenage boys rewinding their DVRs every single week. Melina had the most jaw-dropping entrance in WWE history, where she'd do a full split that became absolutely iconic. Melina could actually wrestle unlike most divas during that era, but let's be honest, most people remember her for that entrance because it was unique, eye-catching, and became a signature moment that defined her entire career. But while Melina had flexibility, the same can't be said about Vince McMahon. During the finish of the 2005 Royal Rumble, where Batista and Cena went over the top rope at the same time, the referees were confused, and Vince came storming down to the ring to sort things out. But when Vince slid into the ring, he blew out both his quads, and instead of stopping, he sat there and tried to act tough while clearly being in excruciating pain. The image of Vince sitting in the ring, unable to stand, barking orders at referees became an instant meme before memes were even a thing. What made it...
Yeah, I remember that moment. Like, Vince was like coming out like, yo, what the hell is this? Like, we're not gonna have a tie in the Royal Rumble. He slid into the ring and blew out both his kneecaps. Like, that's the most jacked up way to make your knees go out. When you slide into the ring and getting into the ring and your knees go out. That's gotta suck. But man, the memes that came from that. Woo! Enough said.
Even funnier was how seriously Vince tried to play it off like nothing was wrong when clearly both his legs were destroyed. But speaking of unintentionally funny moments, how about the time Stone Cold and Booker T had an entire fight inside a supermarket? The Austin Booker supermarket brawl perfectly captures what made the weekly shows so entertaining during that era. This wasn't a pay-per-view. This wasn't a special show. It was a random episode of SmackDown where Austin and Booker were literally fighting in the aisles of a grocery store. But moving on from these funny segments, let's talk about one of the most emotional and controversial storylines in WWE history. Dominic Mysterio is one of the most promising stars in the WWE today. But back in 2005, WWE literally had Eddie and Ray fighting over his custody in a ladder match. This storyline had betrayal, family drama, and two of the best workers in WWE putting on incredible matches. Eddie played the scumbag heel perfectly, manipulating Dominic and making Ray's life miserable week after week. And even though everyone knew Dominic wasn't really Eddie's son, the storytelling was so good that you got invested anyway. It's the kind of...
That it was. Like, yo, the most craziest storylines, the most craziest storylines actually work out to be entertaining. And this whole angle with Dominic being, being in the crosshairs of custody for Eddie and Ray, it actually turned out to be entertaining. Rest in peace to Eddie Guerrero, man. Yo, you are missed.
Personal, character-driven feud that WWE doesn't do anymore, and it gave us some of the best TV of 2005. But speaking of personal, only OG fans will remember when The Undertaker showed up with a massive tattoo of his wife's name on his neck. Back in 2001, WWE did an angle where DDP was stalking Taker's wife, Sarah. When Taker and Sarah eventually divorced, Taker got the tattoo removed, but real fans will always remember when the dead man wore his heart on his neck, and it will always stay etched in history thanks to the 2002 WWF Raw video game. Speaking of video games, check out this video next about the best versus worst WWE games of all time.
Yeah, I may have to check that out next, but yo, that whole angle with Undertaker's wife, Sarah, and DDP, that storyline was it was low-key entertaining, but I felt like that did more damage to DDP's career than anything. Because, you know, at the point where WCW was already brought, and they was bringing in DDP as this psycho stalker. And DDP, he's actually good in the ring. So why you have to put him in this type of angle? Like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. But like I said, that did more damage to DDP more than anything. But yo, this was a good trip down memory lane, man. And I want to know your thoughts on this one. Yo, out of all the moments, out of all of the OG moments, which one was your favorite? You already know what to do, man. Let the comment section have it. And as always, thank y'all for tuning in. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this one. And don't forget to tell your peoples across the globe. So kick it with your boy, just want to get solid time. And please do follow your boy on social media right over yonder. And this is your boy Blaze here saying Chuck the Deuce, and I will see y'all in the next video. And I am out.